Welcome to Daily Talks. Thank you so much for choosing our channel among the thousands of channels out there. We are so glad you are here. I'm Emmy,
I'm Kai.
and usually when we navigate a new city, we rely on like a highly detailed GPS or a meticulously labeled map,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Something that gives you an external cognitive framework.
Right. You've got your street names, the landmarks, and that little blue dot telling you exactly where you are.
And the most efficient route to get where you're going.
Exactly. It completely outsources the heavy lifting of spatial awareness. But imagine stepping just past the city limits.
Sure.
The grid just disappears. You drop the map, you look up at the night sky, and suddenly there are no lines connecting the dots.
Right. No labels telling you which cluster of stars is the hunter or the bear.
Yes, you are just staring into this vast, dark expanse, and your brain violently attempts to draw its own constellations and, just to make sense of the chaos.
It forces a massive cognitive shift. I mean, the sheer scale of an unmapped sky strips away all those external navigation tools you mentioned.
Right.
And the brain, which is at its core a prediction machine, suddenly faces this huge lack of input.
It panics a little.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It triggers this almost desperate need to rely on your own internal compass. It forces you to project your own patterns onto what is fundamentally an indifferent canvas.
And that psychological whiplash, that sudden shift from holding a perfectly defined framework to just staring into an unstructured void,
Yeah.
that is exactly what we are dissecting in today's discussion.
Yeah, it's quite the pivot from our usual material.
It really is. I mean, we spend a lot of time on this show navigating dense 1,000-page biographies or, highly structured scientific research papers.
We're very used to operating with a map.
Totally. But today, our source material is just 5 words.
Just 5.
Just 5. It is a single, unpunctuated excerpt that reads exactly, "What is meaning of life?"
Which is, well, it is arguably the most demanding text we've ever examined.
Wait, really? Because of how short it is?
Specifically because of its minimalism, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no authorial context. There are no footnotes, no preface.
Right, there's no author sitting there explaining their intent.
Exactly. It strips away that safety net, which forces us to rely entirely on our own cognitive frameworks to process it.
The initial impulse is to just laugh it off as, like, an incomplete thought or a typo, even.
Sure, it looks like a mistake at first glance.
But when you look at the sheer weight of what those 5 words are pointing at, it becomes this structural anomaly. Like, how does a phrase so broken manage to hold the most persistent existential question in human history?
Right. And to figure that out, we really have to look closely at the architecture of the phrase itself.
Okay, let's unpack this. Starting with what is conspicuously absent, right? What is meaning of life? There's a missing the before meaning and a total lack of a question mark at the end.
Yeah, those linguistic choices or structural collapse, depending on how you view it, they change the entire psychological processing of the text.
How so?
Well, when you strip a sentence of basic syntactic markers, you aren't just making it grammatically incorrect. You are fundamentally altering how the brain's language centers parse the information.
It almost reads like a biological system in distress.
Well, that's an interesting way to put it.
Yeah. My initial thought was that it perfectly mimics a 3.00 a.m. internet search.
Yeah, I can see that.
You know that state of pure exhaustion, right? You're just staring at the harsh blue light of a screen, typing a raw, urgent thought directly into the search bar.
You drop the articles, you ignore the punctuation.
Exactly. Because you're in a state of cognitive triage, you just need an answer from the algorithm immediately.
I see why you'd make that connection, I really do. But I'd actually argue against it being a search query.
Oh, why is that?
Because a search query still operates on a transactional premise. When you type something into a search bar, you're engaging in a contract, right? I provide the prompt, you provide the output.
Right, okay.
And a question mark does the exact same thing in human conversation. It signals a handoff.
Like it passes the baton.
Exactly. It closes a syntactic loop and demands a resolution from the receiver. But this text lacks the question mark. It doesn't ask for a transaction.
So it's not waiting for an answer?
No, it's not. Without the question mark, it reads more like a terminal state of being. It's an unclosed loop.
Oh, wow.
In psychology, there's a concept called the Zeigarnik effect.
The Zeigarnik effect.
Yeah, which basically states that people remember uncompleted or interrupted tasks much better than completed ones.
That makes so much sense. Because a question mark offers completion.
Exactly. By withholding it, the text refuses to let the brain resolve the thought. It just sits there, forcing you to indefinitely suspend your search for a resolution.
It acts like a translation engine trying to parse a corrupted file. Like, the syntax is broken, so the processing just never stops.
That's a perfect analogy. The processing never stops.
That drastically changes how we read it then. It's not an inquiry, it's like an environmental condition.
Yes.
And I guess that brings us to the missing definitive article. The text doesn't ask for the meaning.
Right. And in linguistics, when you drop the, you are shifting a word from a count noun to a mass noun.
Wait, explain the difference there for me.
Sure. So if I ask you for the water, I am looking for a specific, measurable glass of water sitting on a table.
Okay, got it.
But if I ask what is water, I am asking about the fundamental chemical substance that permeates the universe.
Oh, wow. That is a crucial distinction.
It really is. By dropping the text elevates meaning from a specific hidden object to an elemental substance.
Right, because the meaning suggests singularity. It implies that there is one monolithic answer out there.
Yeah, like an ancient manuscript or a specific sequence of actions. And if you just execute the right sequence, you unlock the prize.
Right. Here's where it gets really interesting, though, because that leads to the two most common ways people approach this question.
Go on.
We tend to view meaning either as a hidden object we have to dig up or like an empty vessel we have to fill.
The treasure hunt or the empty bucket.
Exactly. If it's an object, life is this high-stakes treasure hunt where you can absolutely fail by digging in the wrong spot.
Right.
But if it's a vessel, the terror is totally different. It means the bucket is empty, and it is entirely your responsibility to manufacture the paint to fill it.
That's a lot of pressure.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we need to push back on both of those metaphors, actually.
Ooh. Yeah.
Well, the phrasing, what is meaning, treating it as a mass substance rather than an object or a vessel, it aligns much more closely with modern existential psychology, specifically Viktor Frankl's framework.
Oh, yes, from his book, Man's Search for Meaning.
Exactly. Frankl developed his theories, his concept of logotherapy, after surviving the Holocaust. And he argued that meaning is neither a hidden treasure you stumble upon, nor an empty bucket you willfully fill.
Then what is it?
Meaning is a byproduct.
Byproduct of what, exactly?
Of action and responsibility. You don't find it by looking directly at it,
Yeah.
And you don't create it by just staring into an empty vessel.
It's like trying to fall asleep by focusing really hard on falling asleep. It just pushes it further away.
Precisely. It happens behind your back while you are busy dedicating yourself to a task or a person or a belief.
That connects perfectly to the neuroscience side of things, too. Like, human beings possess a default mode network in the brain.
Yes, the DMN.
Right. And when we aren't focused on a specific external task, this network kicks in and frantically tries to build narrative arcs. It connects our past memories to future anxieties.
It's constantly running in the background.
Exactly. We are biologically hardwired to demand a narrative. So when that narrative breaks down, we experience severe cognitive dissonance.
So seeking meaning isn't some elevated philosophical luxury, right?
No, not at all. It is a biological imperative, essentially on par with seeking food or shelter. If our brain's default mode network cannot synthesize a coherent narrative out of our actions, the system just crashes.
Exactly. And the text's refusal to define meaning creates a conceptual vacuum.
And the brain absolutely abhors a vacuum.
It does. So the moment you read what is meaning of life, your neural pathways immediately rush to populate that blank space with your own psychological state. It forces a projection.
Oh, I see. So if you are grieving, the meaning you project into that void will revolve around loss and resilience.
Right. And if you are ambitious, you'll project legacy or achievement. The text doesn't provide the substance. It merely triggers the neurological mechanism that forces you to generate it.
That is fascinating. So if meaning is a byproduct of action, like Frankl suggests, then the arena where that action takes place becomes the critical variable.
Absolutely. You can't analyze the byproduct without understanding the raw material it's being extracted from.
And in this 5-word text, that raw material is simply designated as life.
Which is an incredibly volatile variable.
Yeah.
Because its scale is entirely dependent on the observer.
So what does this all mean for the daily grind? Because this is where I have to challenge the utility of the philosophical approach.
Okay, challenge away.
Well, the scale of life can be paralyzing, right? If we're talking about life as the grand cosmic biological phenomenon, a 14 billion year unbroken chain of stellar combustion, single-celled evolution, genetic replication.
The big stuff.
The huge stuff, The meaning generated in that arena feels deeply impersonal to me.
I can understand that.
Like, if the biological imperative is simply to survive, adapt, and pass on genetic code, that doesn't offer any psychological relief when I'm sitting in bumper-to-bumper traffic, or when I'm dreading a meeting and feeling entirely disconnected from my work.
Right.
The macro perspective might be factually accurate, but it is functionally useless for a human being trying to navigate a Tuesday.
I wouldn't say it's functionally useless, but it is definitely deeply alienating if left unanchored.
Alienating is a good word for it.
Yeah, the macro perspective, that cosmic machinery, it often induces what we call existential vertigo.
Ooh, existential vertigo.
Yeah, when you zoom out that far, the individual ego dissolves, which can feel liberating to some people, but terrifying to most.
Terrifying is definitely where I land.
But here's the beauty of it. The brilliance of the source text is that it doesn't specify the scale. It doesn't say what is meaning of human evolution, nor does it say what is meaning of your daily routine.
It just says life.
Exactly. By leaving the noun life completely unmodified, it collapses the macro and the micro into the exact same space.
But how does the brain actually reconcile those two extremes, though?
What do you mean?
Because intellectually, I know I am a microscopic organism on a rock hurtling through a vacuum,
Right.
but practically, my entire reality is dictated by whether or not I remembered to pay the electricity bill. Those two realities feel completely incompatible.
Ah, I see. Well, they aren't incompatible. They're fractal.
Fractal.
Yeah. The brain reconciles them through the exact mechanism we discussed earlier. Action as a byproduct. The cosmic reality of life is not separate from the mundane reality of paying your bills.
No.
The cosmic reality is literally constructed out of the mundane.
Okay, wait, break that down for me.
Sure. You cannot interact with the 14 billion year history of the universe. It's too abstract. Your nervous system can only interact with the immediate sensory input right in front of you.
So, the mundane tasks aren't distractions from the real meaning of life. They're the actual interface.
You're the only interface. The grand tapestry of human existence is woven exclusively from billions of seemingly trivial, localized decisions.
Like sitting in that traffic jam.
Exactly. When you choose to exhibit patience in a frustrating traffic jam, or when you take responsibility for a difficult conversation at work, you are actively participating in the evolutionary adaptation of the species.
I'm regulating my nervous system.
Yes. You are regulating your nervous system, which impacts the nervous systems of those around you, altering the immediate social fabric. The meaning of life, in its most intimidating cosmic sense, is executed, practically, through the micro-decisions of the everyday.
And the source text holds both of those realities simultaneously because mechanically they're the same thing. That is a fundamental shift in perspective. It completely dismantles the idea that we have to, step outside of our normal lives, go to a mountaintop, or abandon our responsibilities just to figure out this massive question.
Right. You don't have to escape your life to find meaning in it.
The abstraction is processed entirely through the tangible.
Yes. If you attempt to solve the equation of meaning using only abstract cosmic variables, the math will just never work out. The human brain requires tactile, localized inputs to generate that psychological byproduct of purpose.
It is honestly staggering to realize how much cognitive processing is demanded by just 5 unpunctuated words.
It really packs a punch.
It does. I mean, we started by looking at a broken string of text, what is meaning of life, and discovered that its grammatical failures are actually its greatest strength.
The lack of punctuation is doing so much heavy lifting.
Yes. The missing question mark leaves an unclosed cognitive loop, preventing us from ever truly putting the inquiry down. And then the missing "the" shifts our understanding of meaning from a specific, findable object to this elemental substance that we generate as a byproduct of our actions, just like Frankel talked about.
Right.
And finally, the unspecific use of the word life forces us to recognize that the cosmic machinery of the universe is exclusively operated through our mundane daily choices.
It acts as an unavoidable cognitive mirror. Because the text offers no syntactic resolution and provides no authorial guidance, the listener is entirely responsible for the translation.
It's all on you.
Exactly. When you look at those 5 words, the unease or the inspiration you feel isn't coming from the text. It is a direct biological reflection of how your own default mode network is currently attempting to stitch your reality together.
And for you, the person listening right now, that is the most critical takeaway. The profound echoing blank space at the end of the phrase isn't a mistake.
No, not at all.
There is no answer key hidden at the back of the book, no missing context that will suddenly make the universe legible. That blank space is a functional requirement. It's the necessary vacuum that pulls your unique psychological inputs into the equation.
Because without that void, adaptation ceases entirely.
Mm.
If the answer were just provided to you, the evolutionary imperative to seek, to build, and to organize the chaos would shut down.
Which leaves us with a final, slightly unsettling, but incredibly liberating thought to carry forward.
Oh, I like the sound of that.
We spend so much energy trying to resolve the ambiguity of our existence. We desperately want to draw the constellations, map the territory, and finally arrive at a stable definition of why we are here.
It's human nature to want that certainty.
But what if the absence of a clear answer isn't a bug in the human operating system? What if it is the core feature? What if the true meaning of life is entirely reliant on the unending, exhausting, yet deeply human necessity of asking the question itself? You drop the map, you look up into the terrifying infinite architecture of the night sky, and you just keep trying to find a pattern. The survival of our species might just depend on the fact that we never, ever stop looking.